What if the direction you're searching for is already inside you, just speaking softly? Stay tuned for how listening for what's whispering begins with the simple act of listening to your inner voice. Welcome back to the Resilient MD, the podcast and YouTube channel where women physicians explore burnout, resilience, and how to care deeply for others without losing themselves. I'm Dr. Anna McDowell, certified life coach and allergist. Today, we're talking about something that often gets lost in busy careers and high responsibility lives. Learning to listen for what's whispering inside of you. Have you ever caught yourself waiting for a moment of perfect clarity where the next step suddenly becomes obvious? Do you ever assume that when the time comes, you would simply know what to do? Do you believe that you need to be absolutely certain before you even consider moving forward? Well, I was like that also. Like many super busy people, I expected clarity about my next chapter to arrive suddenly with a clear idea, a plan. I thought I would have the strong sense of certainty. But the truth is, the next chapter usually doesn't arrive with a loud announcement. It starts much more quietly than that. Many of us expect clarity to arrive loudly. We imagine a moment where everything becomes obvious, a clear idea, a plan, a certainty about what to do next. But most meaningful transitions don't begin that way. They begin quietly. The next chapter rarely announces itself with urgency. More often, it begins with a whisper, a small curiosity, a moment of interest, a subtle sense that something feels meaningful. The challenge is that whispers are easy to miss when we're used to responding to louder signals like deadlines, responsibilities, and expectations. For many high achieving professionals and women physicians, the external world has dictated priorities for years. Schedules, the patients, institutions, the family responsibilities. When life slows down, something surprising can happen. You may realize you've spent so long responding to what was needed that you haven't had many opportunities to ask yourself what you want. And learning to ask that question again takes practice. Reconnecting with your inner voice is less about searching for answers and more about relearning how to listen. For many people, especially physicians, this takes time because the habit of listening inward was quietly replaced by the habit of responding outward. For example, imagine a physician who spent over 20 years moving from patient to patient, solving problems, making decisions quickly. Her attention was constantly directing outwards towards symptoms, data, needs, responsibilities. Then one day, things slow down. Suddenly, the question becomes, what do I want? But when she asks herself that question, there's silence. Not because the answer doesn't exist, but because the voice that would answer hasn't been invited into the conversation for a long time. It's like reconnecting with an old friend you haven't spoken to in years. At first, the conversation feels a little awkward, a little quiet, a little uncertain. But with time, patience, and attention, that relationship begins to rebuild. The same is true for your inner voice. It returns when you create the conditions to hear it. Now, before we go further, it may help to define what I mean by intuition, because the word can sometimes sound vague or mysterious. Intuition isn't magic. Intuition is simply the brain's ability to recognize patterns and signals based on everything you've already experienced in the past, even when you can't immediately explain it logically. So just think about it like the Wizard of Oz. Behind the curtain, your brain is like, there's all this like little people working and connecting all the no, there's no people behind in your brain, but your brain is connecting all the dots of past experiences, and eventually you have this sense, you have this feeling, and you don't know exactly why, but it's, that's why we call it the gut feeling, but it's your brain that put it all together, and you don't know why, and that's why we call it intuition and gut feeling. So it's this quiet sense that something feels right or that something doesn't quite fit. It's the feeling of interest or curiosity that shows up before a clear reason does. Think of it as your internal guidance system, the part of you that integrates your experiences, your values, and your observations and sends you small signals about what resonates. And interestingly, neuroscience actually supports this. Remember in episode 51 when we talked about the brain's default mode network, the system that becomes more active when we slow down, rest, or allow our minds to wander? This network helps us connect ideas, integrate experiences, and see patterns we might miss when we're constantly focused on tasks. Well, intuition often emerges from the same process. The challenge is that intuition doesn't shout, it speaks quietly. And in fast-paced, high-responsibility careers like medicine, we often learn to override those signals because urgency and external demands take priority, which is why creating space becomes so important. Intuition doesn't flourish in constant urgency. It needs room to surface. Space in your schedule, space in your thoughts, space between decisions. When life is packed with urgency, the mind stays focused on solving the immediate problems. There is no room for deeper integration. But when the pace softens, even briefly, something interesting happens. Ideas begin to surface that weren't there before, and the mind begins to connect them in new ways. You may notice yourself thinking about topics that interest you or feeling drawn towards something that resonates. You may start connecting experiences with fresh approaches. You may feel subtle nudges towards things that connect. These signals are easy to dismiss because they don't arrive with authority. They arrive quietly. These signals are subtle, but they are so meaningful. And protecting moments of mental space is one of the most powerful ways to reconnect with them. Intuition isn't something we force, it's something we allow. We allow by creating these moments, walking without distraction, drinking coffee without multitasking, writing thoughts without needing conclusions. These small pauses are not wasted time. They are the soil where intuition grows. Before we move on, I want to pause for a moment. I'm curious, have you been feeling exhausted, discouraged, or frustrated and not quite sure why? Are you quietly wondering if this is just how life in medicine has to be? Well, I see you. You don't have to give up on yourself or your dreams. And the good news is that you don't have to figure it all out alone. I built a 6-week one-on-one coaching program designed to help women physicians gently remove the barriers keeping them stuck and rediscover clarity, balance, and purpose. It is called the Resilient MD, just like the podcast and YouTube channel. If you are ready, you can begin today. Schedule your free clarity call. The link is in the show's notes. Now, one of the most overlooked signals of alignment is curiosity. Curiosity is gentle. It doesn't demand attention. It simply invites exploration. You might notice it when a topic catches your attention unexpectedly. You enjoy learning about something unrelated to your career. A conversation leaves you energized instead of drained. An idea lingers in your mind longer than expected. Many people dismiss these moments because they seem too small to matter. But curiosity is often the earliest indicator of direction. It's the mind and heart quietly saying, "This is interesting. There's something here. You may want to look closer." You don't need to turn curiosity into a commitment. You only need to respect it enough to notice. Transformation rarely begins with certainty. It begins with interest. Before we close today, I want to offer you a simple practice. It's called a no action required curiosity list. The purpose of this list is not productivity, it's self-discovery. So I want you to take a notebook or open a blank note on your phone and start writing down everything that sparks your interest right now. Books you may want to read, topics you want to understand better, ideas you'd like to explore one day, activities that sound fun or sound meaningful. The key rule here is this: there is no action required. You are not committing to anything. You're not, committing to doing any of these things. You are not turning these into goals. You are simply allowing yourself to notice what draws your attention, and you're writing it down so you don't forget in the future. Over time, what you're going to see is that you're going to start noticing patterns that may emerge. There are certain themes there that may begin to appear again and again. Now, those patterns can become quiet guides for you, pointing towards direction that feel aligned. Curiosity is often the first language of intuition. Now, if you've spent years responding to what others needed from you, reconnecting with your own inner voice may take time, and that's okay. I love that saying, that's okay. Your next chapter doesn't need to shout to be real. It may begin with something much quieter, a whisper, a curiosity, a feeling of resonance. And in this butterfly year, we give those whispers space. You know what I'm about to say, so let's say it together. I do not rush my transformation. If this conversation spoke to you, consider sending it to a friend that may also have forgotten how to listen to their inner voice. In next week's episodes, we'll explore how to set soft, compassionate boundaries during seasons of transition. If you are someone that feels you have to over-explain yourself, subscribe right now. You will have to listen to it. Quick heads up, if you're serious about saving time, think 10 hours a week, don't live without downloading the time management guide that walks you through how to make it happen. Grab it now at annamcdowell.com/guide or in the link below. If this episode gave you something valuable, would you share the love? A quick 5-star review on Apple Podcast or your favorite platform, and a like on YouTube helps spread the word. And keep this content coming your way. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening inward. And thank you for allowing curiosity to guide you gently forward. I'm Dr. Anna McDowell, a resilient MD just like you. I'll see you next week.